Welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. Here's a number I want you to sit with, 95%. That is the share of enterprise generative AI pilots that delivered zero measurable return, not low return, zero, according to MIT's project NANDA research, covering more than 300 public AI deployments. IDC has a related number. For every 33 AI proofs of concept an enterprise starts, only 4 ever reach production. S&P Global tracked large enterprises in 2025 and found the average company over 10,000 employees abandoned 2.3 AI initiatives last year. Average sunk cost per abandoned initiative, $7.2 million. That is what is on the other side of the conference room from you right now. This is an opinion episode. I'm going to tell you what I am seeing in the field, and I am going to name it directly. The AI transformation market has a grifter problem. Not all of it, not even most of it, but enough of it that you need a framework before you sign the next proposal that lands in your inbox. So here it is. 5 red flags. Every CEO listening should be able to apply this test inside a week. Red flag number 1, they closed you in 1 or 2 meetings. If a vendor walked into your office, did an hour of discovery, and came back with a proposal that promises to transform your workflow with AI agents, they are not selling you workflow transformation. They cannot be. They have not done the work. Replacing a human task with an agent requires understanding how that task actually happens, who initiates it, what inputs they need, what edge cases they handle silently, what the downstream dependencies are, what the failure modes look like at scale. You do not learn that in 2 meetings. You learn it in 2 months of process mapping. What you get from a 1-meeting close is not agent transformation. It is a bolt-on, a chatbot wrapper, a workflow automation that looks like AI in the demo and breaks in production. If the discovery feels light, the deliverable will be lighter. Red flag number 2, they are proposing to build you something proprietary. I'm going to give you my opinion. I think for 90% or more of the companies in this audience, custom AI development is the wrong answer. The frontier labs, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, Mistral have collectively spent hundreds of billions of dollars building tools that are more capable than 90% of business use cases require. ChatGPT Enterprise, Claude for Work, Gemini Enterprise, Copilot. These are not consumer toys. They are the most sophisticated software products in the history of the industry, and they are renting for a few $100s per seat per year. A vendor proposing to build you something bespoke on top of that is doing one of 2 things. Either they are adding genuine, defensible, domain-specific value on top of the platform, which a small minority of vendors actually can, or they are constructing a moat for themselves out of your business. MIT has the data on this one too. Internal builds fail at twice the rate of vendor-led platform-based solutions. Buying from a specialized platform vendor succeeds about 67% of the time. Internal custom builds succeed at 1/3 that rate. When a vendor pitches you a custom build, ask them one question. What does your solution do that a senior consultant could not do with ChatGPT Enterprise, a clean data pipeline, and 3 months? If they cannot answer that in a sentence, they do not have an answer. Red flag number 3, the deliverable is murky and the technology is opaque. Read your AI proposal. If the architecture section uses phrases like our proprietary framework or our orchestration layer without telling you what underlying models, what data formats, what hosting environment, you are reading a hostage note. Here is what happens. You sign, they build, your data goes into their system. 6 months later, the system is underperforming or the vendor is not responsive or a better tool comes out and your data is locked in their proprietary framework. The embeddings are in their format. The agent definitions are in their schema. You cannot leave without rebuilding from scratch. Gartner ran the numbers. 40% of agentic AI projects will be discontinued by 2027. Most of those companies will discover the lock-in problem the same week they decide to discontinue. That is a uniquely bad week. If your vendor will not show you how you would leave their platform, assume that is intentional. Red flag number 4, they want significant payment upfront. This is the simplest test on the list. You do not know what they are going to deliver. They do not know what they are going to deliver because, as I said in red flag 1, they have not done the work to know. So why would anyone pay a meaningful portion of a 6 or 7-figure engagement before milestone 1 ships? Serious vendors stage payments against verifiable deliverables, process map, data audit, working prototype, production grade integration. The buyer can see, touch, and reject each one before the next tranche releases. If your AI vendor wants 30% on signature, 50% at midpoint, and 20% on a delivery, the buyer cannot independently evaluate. What they are selling you is not a project. It is a subscription to their cash flow. Send the contract back or send the vendor away. Red flag number 5, and this is the most important one. The proposal does not have a serious data work line item. Industry consensus, going back at least 7 years, is that data preparation is 70 to 80% of any real AI project. Cleansing, normalization, schema alignment, sensitive document filtering, HIPAA, PII, PCI, attorney-client, source curation, so the model is learning from your 50 good documents and not your 1,000 mediocre ones. Governance and lineage, so when the model does something weird 6 months from now, you can trace it back. Gartner's February 2025 definition of AI-ready data includes asset-level governance, automated pipelines with quality gates, live metadata, and continuous quality assurance. Their word, continuous. Most organizations have none of this. If the proposal in front of you does not allocate a meaningful share of its time, effort, and budget to the data, it is not a serious AI program. It is a model deployment on top of garbage, and the model will tell you exactly what you put in. This is the red flag that most CEOs miss because they are not data people. So they look at the architecture diagram and the agent workflow chart and they nod. Make your CIO or your head of data look at the proposal independently. Their first question should be, where is the data work? If the answer is, we will address that during implementation, that is a no. Now, the positive frame. Let me tell you what I think good looks like. Klarna ran what I would argue is the most watched enterprise AI deployment of the last 3 years. They built on OpenAI. Platform, not bespoke. Within a month, they had handled 2.3 million customer service chats, work equivalent to 700 full-time agents, $40 million of projected profit improvement in the first year. The headline was everywhere. 15 months later, May 2025, Klarna walked some of it back. They are still using the AI for 2/3 of queries, but they are rehiring humans for the rest. The CEO's framing was honest. Quote, AI gives us speed, talent gives us empathy. End quote. Here is the lesson most coverage missed. Klarna did everything right. Platform, not bespoke. Real data work, measurable outcomes, and they still over-rotated and had to correct. If the best run, most platform native, most measurable enterprise AI deployment of the last 3 years had to walk it back, what do you think is happening at the companies that hired a boutique AI consultancy to build them a proprietary cathedral? The transformation is evolutionary. It is a journey, not a flip of a switch. The system you think you need at month 1 is almost never the system you actually need at month 12, because the journey teaches you what you actually need. That is the part the grifters do not want you to do, because if you take the journey, you find out their cathedral was not necessary. 3 things to do this week. First, before you sign any AI proposal, run the 5-question vendor test. How many discovery sessions did you do? What runs underneath your proprietary platform? How would I export my data and embeddings if I left tomorrow? What % of this project is data work? And what does your solution do that a senior consultant with ChatGPT Enterprise in 3 months could not do? If they cannot answer any of these clearly, walk. Second, write into every AI contract a staged payment schedule tied to verifiable deliverables, process map, data audit, production integration, 25% maximum on signature, reject any vendor who pushes back hard. Third, get your CIO or head of data in the room as an independent reviewer, not as a yes vote, as an adversarial reviewer whose explicit job is to find the data work, the lock-in risk, and the integration debt before you sign. The method we use at our firm is the same. The data and the piping are the work. The model is the easy part. Treat your proposal accordingly. One more thing before we close, there is going to be a backlash. Pilot purgatory is already a named phenomenon. Deloitte's 2026 State of AI report calls out pilot fatigue. By the 3rd failed AI pilot, executives stop attending the reviews. The board reads a TechCrunch piece about a write-down at a peer company, and suddenly your AI program has a credibility problem you did not earn. The CEOs in this audience who avoid that outcome will be the ones who said no to the wrong proposals, early, often, and without apology. The most strategic AI decision you make this year may be the one you do not sign. That is the AI Grifter test. That is the YPO Tech Network AI brief for Wednesday, May 27th. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back tomorrow with more. Until then, stay sharp.